This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on Pierre Levesque with PL Flooring Company. Pierre, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having us today, Jeff.
Absolutely, man. How are you today?
We're doing pretty good.
Good, man. Well, let's get right into your story, who you are, your business, what you do. So tell the audience a little bit about your business. What is it that you do, Pierre?
So PL Flooring Company, we are a small family-owned flooring installer and distributor. We work out of the Simcoe region in Ontario. We dabble in everything from commercial to residential business. And we kind of work all over the place. We go where the work is these days. So
anything that you specialize in?
Hard surface floors. So anything from vinyl plank, laminates, hardwood, engineered hardwood. We do a little bit of tile work, but typically just hard surface.
Hard surface. Okay, beautiful. So how long you been in this business now for, Pierre? How long you been running PL Flooring Company?
So I've been running PL now for just under 3 years. Kind of started it haphazardly. That's not the right word, but it kind of fell into it. I did a lot of renovation work growing up and was always looking for another way to make some more money. Started doing flooring work in the evenings. And before I knew it, I was making more money in the 3 or 4 hours after work than I was making all day at work. And I just kind of said, you know what? I think this is a good risk we can take, and jumped in head first, and honestly haven't looked back since.
Beautiful. Been a good ride so far?
So far, so good.
Good, man. And is there a large team of people? Is it a small group? How many?
Typically, there's only 2 of us on site. If we do get into some bigger jobs, I've got some shoulders we can lean on and bring in to give us a hand if we need it.
And something that I think the audience cares about a fair bit, I certainly do, since we all live and work in our community here on the GNP team. Is it a family-owned business?
Yes, we are a family business.
Very cool. So I know you alluded to it a little bit, but maybe we can delve a little bit deeper into it. What led you? I know you said you were doing the flooring in the evening and it was a great financial opportunity, but what led you to maybe the construction world, or what led you to, picking flooring? Like, what's the story, the journey behind that?
So, as a teenager growing up, I always, I worked in factories. I would do renovation work weekends, again, just, for extra money. And then as it kind of grew into that, I started working for actual renovation companies, kind of honing my skills and craft. And actually the reason I jumped into the flooring was, at the time I didn't own a pickup truck. I didn't have a trailer. I needed something that was easy for me to get around and do. I didn't have to carry a ton of different tools with me. Honestly, you can get away with, I got a rubber mallet, I got a tape measure, a square, maybe a small saw. And you can get 90% of, hardwood, vinyl jobs done with just those basic tools. So it was just a easy thing to jump into to do on the evenings. Like I said, I didn't have to drag a lot of stuff around to get a job done. And when I first started, we weren't in the distribution of the flooring. We were just straight installers. So a customer would just ask me to come over and say, hey, I bought this flooring, install it for us. And we would knock it out in, maybe one evening or 2 evenings. So that was kind of the whole base behind what could I do to make this extra money without having to jump into a big investment or need a truck or a ton of tools.
Mm-hmm. So it was almost like you had the skills, and this was a path of like almost efficiency and convenience. It was almost the path of least resistance for the skills that you had developed, kind of
Yes.
organically happened for you.
Yes, that's why I was saying kind of fell into it. It was, what can we do? What do we have available? How do we make these two things work? And then we just plowed our way forward. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until it was a very obvious decision to quit our day jobs and just move forward with this.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know that people put enough stock into picking the right boat. There's a quote that comes to mind from Warren Buffett. I remember he tells this great story in one of his books about how he went to school with many people that were smarter than him, more educated than him, harder working than him. He considers himself a lazy guy sometimes. And he says, it's not so much all of those things. Sometimes it's just the boat you pick. I just picked a much faster boat, hence my success. And maybe convenience and efficiency is a major part of it. So I love that. I think you may have said this earlier. I may have not understood it correctly. Did you say not only are you doing installations, but also distribution? So can people come to you and buy flooring just retail wise?
So we don't have a retail store, but we do carry lines of flooring.
Okay.
So, if a customer calls us up and says, hey, I want to get a quote on flooring, we ask them a few questions ahead of time. Is there a type of flooring you're looking for, vinyl or laminate, hardwood, tile? And if they say, yeah, I'm looking for a laminate floor for their house, say, okay, well, is there a color range or, give me some general idea of what style flooring you're looking for. And then I'll bring over our big box of samples and say, hey, look, if there's something here that meets your needs, then we can supply this to you guys.
Okay. So that's great. So they get a number of options, I imagine quality flooring, and then you not only help them with the design, but you also you take care of it from A to Z essentially.
Yeah. And, one of the beautiful parts of it is everything we sell is something that we've been installing now for years. I don't sell floors that are what I would consider subpar or difficult to maintain. It's over the last few years or 5 years, this is stuff we know that is quality. So when I bring it to the customer, I can be confident in that and say, look, I know this is good stuff. I won't install crappy material in your house. Mm-hmm. So, and then we back it, right? So it goes a long way, and we only carry quality products for our customers.
Yeah. And that just more and more, this comes up these days that, getting a deal or lower cost items to mid-tier to high tier, I think they're all important questions to ask, but it's the question that I come up is like, what is your mental calmness worth? Because if I can have somebody come in who's an expert, who's done this, for years, know it well, and they warranty it, I may pay a little extra. I think that's the idea behind that quality. But the mental stress alone is probably worth the extra 10, 15, or 20%. Yeah. And we typically deal with high ticket items, high end business, affluent communities here in Simcoe County. So it lines up exactly with what you guys are doing. So something that I'm quite curious about, I imagine the audience is as well. What are some common myths or misconceptions about the flooring industry or the business you run?
Honestly, I think people think it's an easy job to do.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just banging boards into the floor and, you just stick them together and this is super easy. So maybe that's not always the case. There is a lot of attention to detail, and there are a lot of things that you have to learn and can be extremely tricky. I always use the example, I've had guys work for me who started out and thought this was so easy to do and decided they didn't want to work for me anymore and they wanted to open their own companies. And I said, hey, the power to you. Like, I hope you do great. And next thing you know, I'm getting a call, hey buddy, like, how do we do this? Or how did, you got to show me how to do these things. It's not just putting a board down to the floor. It's how do you start your rooms, your whole house has to work together. You can't have one board over here that's 8 inches wide and then at the other end of the room 3/4 of an inch wide. You have to be able to map these things out and figure it out. It's not just straightforward nailing boards to the floor. So I think that would be your biggest misconception, is that it's an easy job to do. You crawl around on the floor for 4 or 5 hours and then tell me how easy that is on your body, on your knees. You carry thousands of square feet of flooring. Your back is broken at the end of the day. Like it is a tough job.
Oh yeah, I bet. Not to mention the eye that you've been able to hone in for detail over the years. It's interesting, the DIY community, right? Like the people that want to try it for themselves. And I love people experimenting and learning new things and that kind of stuff. And if there's something you can practice on out there that isn't really high risk, then, do these things. We had a real estate agent on the other day, and her main misconception was that it's just a piece of cake to list, stage, and sell your house. I don't believe that at all. I'm lucky to deal with so many business verticals. We deal with all kinds of service businesses, anybody that can help the family and the home and the land. Mm-hmm. So that's dozens of businesses. And I see what you guys do. If you're looking to do like a whole basement and that's your baby, or any main floor in the house, just get it done right. I don't know. It just seems so. I like building things. I like working with my hands, but on little low risk things. I won't risk a floor when I can hire somebody who's been years in the business.
It depends. Like, I'm a flooring guy, so I notice these things. It doesn't matter where we go. We walk into a mall. We walk into people's houses. I start pointing things. I'm like, oh my God, look at this and look at that. And, Shelly says to me, he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, nobody else sees these things. I'm like, but I see them, right? That makes us perfectionists. If we're not happy, we don't leave a job site. And I look at the seams on the floors and the way everything lines up, and I'm just like, it drives me crazy. But for the DIYer, a lot of people don't notice these things, right? So I always say, like, if you want to try to do it yourself, you should. It can be a costly mistake if you mess it up, and then you got to call somebody in to come and then tear out what you've done and reinstall. It costs a lot of money for materials, etc. But don't let that deter you from trying to do your own flooring at home. I think everybody should give it a shot. If you have a little bit of, I can read a tape measure and use a square and use some basic tools, you might take you a long time, but you could probably figure it out. So I'd give them that shot.
I like that message. Even though you do it and you're speaking to people who may want it, you put out a message that kind of empowers people to give it a try. Also, from giving it a try, I think what will often happen, at least in my case, is I go and do the thing that I've never done before. Now I have that much more respect for the master of their craft, right? I understand much more how much more difficult it is than I expected it to be. So I love that misconception. It often comes up with service businesses. People want to do it themselves, or they don't quite know what you get from thousands of hours of doing one craft. It's just a skill that you can't hone without the practice. So I think that's great.
I don't know if anybody ever becomes a master, because I learn things all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know why I didn't think of that. And somebody just shows you an easier way to do something, or a little workaround, and you're just like, man, I wish I would have known that before. Yeah. And you still got it done, but now I can get it done, saving minutes or whatever at a time, just from these little tricks and tips. So you always got to learn too, right?
Well, I love that. I mean, I think that keeps us engaged. I think it keeps things exciting. I don't think there is any limit to our learning in any craft. I don't think you ever hit that summit. And I like that we're constantly challenged and constantly growing, and we can help the people that are, starting a little later than us, a little bit further back on the path. I think that's great. So outside of business, Pierre, what do you do for fun? I imagine your business is quite fun for a lot of us entrepreneurs. It is, but what goes on outside working hours?
Love getting out on the bike. We're motorcycle guys, and love to get Shelly on the back and just go for a rip through the country, go find some little town in the middle of nowhere and grab some lunch and just get out and feel that freedom. So we do love getting out on our bike. I also play a little bit of guitar. Used to play in a band a few years back, but we're trying to revive something new now that we're up in Simcoe and got some access to different people. So that's in the works for us up here to get back to jamming with the band and that kind of stuff. Other than that, we try to relax a little bit. We do lead pretty stressful lives and busy lives, and we're constantly aching and sore from work.
I bet.
So, if we're not doing those things, it's relax or maybe try to get away, go on a little vacation or weekend away.
For anybody out there that also rides, I know there's a number of bikes in Simcoe, especially Barrie. Any areas that you recommend, any places that you find yourself going back to again and again for a good ride?
So I think it's called River Road or Ridge Road.
Ridge Road. Okay.
It if you it follows along Simcoe and gets you through, I think the town's called Shanty Bay, and takes you up through Oro-Medonte, and it's just nobody would ever speed through this road. Wink, wink. But it's just the cornering and everything's just long, sweeping corners, and it's just you go through umbrellaed canopies of trees at some point. It's just a wicked little ride. Doesn't take too long, 20 minutes through and 20 minutes back home. You can get out for, like an hour ride. Otherwise, I just say anywhere that's not the city.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Hit the Barrie Road, hit a country road, just out of town, anywhere.
Yeah, we're lucky. We got I came from the south, so I've spent a lot of time in Toronto and then York region, and now I spend all my days in Simcoe. And we're lucky. We have a bit of that city vibe. You want a little bit more than that, you can go to Toronto, but sometimes Toronto's a little too city for me.
Yeah.
So you got that city vibe. You got the water. You got the country. You got the mountains. There's not much that Simcoe County doesn't offer, but it certainly is abundant in nature.
Yes.
I don't ride a bike, but I love getting out there on my, road bike or getting for a walk. But that's a great recommendation, man. I appreciate that. So we try to ask a good amount of personal questions, sometimes on the lighter, sometimes on the tougher. And I like to kind of open this question by what I think is the point of sharing our life trials, tribulations, and hardships. Is in this day and age, I find, especially on the social media world, as many of us are spending our time on there, I think quite often we're only posting the best parts of our lives. Those are the things we want to celebrate, and sometimes we even skew them to look even more shiny and perfect. And some people look at that and they don't quite resonate because they're like, my life isn't perfect. Life isn't perfect. It is challenging. And not only that, I think through our challenges is those real moments of growth, those situations of discomfort that maybe we didn't want to face, but look back in hindsight and we're happy or proud to have faced them. So can you share any life challenges or trials and tribulations that you had to face, and now that you look back, you're certainly happy you did?
I think everybody faces challenges on an every day, right?
I agree.
To me, one of the biggest challenges is constantly trying to make ourselves or make myself a little bit better every day. It's not always easy. Sometimes you can feel like you're not gaining traction or you're failing at things in life. And sometimes you just have to step back and realize that every time you make a step forward, you're overcoming something. And it doesn't have to be, I had this horrible thing happen to me. I try not to look at life that way. It's if every day you're waking up and saying, today we're going to be a little better than we were yesterday, then you're always moving forward. You're growing. You're overcoming the hardships or the stresses of the previous day. And, like I said, without going into crazy personal things, but I think that's where I would lean. It's constantly being willingness to learn new things, better yourself, grow. And that's what's going to define you and overcome any hardship you come across. So,
Yeah, I think that's a great message, and I agree with it. I'm always curious, just very interested in humans, and human potential is really the thing that I study most for myself. I do some counseling on the weekend at an addictions facility here in Barrie and Newmarket, kind of my little passion project outside of helping businesses grow. But I'm always curious about people's practices. Like for me, it's health and fitness. You know, I like to read and do a couple other things. Are there any things that you do that you know, almost help ground you or build that foundation to help you strive towards that daily betterment? Anything that you think really, any tips and tricks to getting better every day?
I think it's one, being honest with yourself and what you're capable of right here and there. Let your emotions out. Tell people how you feel. I was for a long time a bottler. I would just hold things in, and then I would have like a little spaz attack because I couldn't take it anymore. So that's one thing that I've done over the years, is to communicate with people. Tell people how you feel, because people around you can't do better if they don't understand you either, right? And you can't expect people to understand you if you don't tell them how you're feeling, or what something they're doing is, how it affects you, or whatever that might be. So, but in terms of how do I manage a lot of stress? Music. I love music. Listening to music, letting that emotion come out through the music. I find it very calming, even though I listen to some crazy heavy metal stuff. And Shelly says, this just winds me up. I'm like, Zen, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. And like I said, and then playing the guitar, try to write music, write lyrics, these kind of things. It's another way to get stuff out and manage your stress.
Yeah, I think that's great, to find whatever practice works that helps calm the mind, whether it's heavy metal music or you're meditating or something. But I like that, the communication piece. It's information. I look at it as, not only is it cathartic for us to let it out, because I was similar to you, athlete growing up, boys don't cry kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I bottled, and that got me into some trouble until I learned what I needed to learn to at least move forward. But at least if I'm communicating to other people now, they know where I stand. They know the position I'm in, and they can make better decisions to either move away from me if that's needed, or help support. So I think that's great advice. Regarding your business, PL Flooring, what's one thing that you wish the audience knew about you? For maybe people that have already heard about your company, maybe they're loyal customers, maybe they've heard about you guys, have forgotten, people forget, and maybe they haven't heard about you. What's one or two things that you wish they knew?
When we come to your house to provide you a quote or do the work for you, it's kind of a weird way to say it, but I'm not there to just like take all your money. Mm-hmm. You get some guys that come out and everything they're doing is, I want a nickel for this, I want $1 for this. And I understand that that's their business model, but for our business model, it's giving everybody a fair price. When I can make a fair living, they get a high quality product and craftsmanship, and we don't leave your house until you're happy. That has always been our thing. If we come in your house and you're like, which never happens, by the way, because we do spectacular work. But if the customer has an issue with anything, we are there to make them happy, right? We are nothing without our customer. Yeah. So we do whatever it takes to ensure that when we leave, our customer is 100% satisfied. And I mean, if you go online and you check out our website, you'll see that we have nothing but 5-star reviews. And it's because we offer value and quality and a customer satisfaction. And at the end of the day, that's what our business is. We are here as a service, right? And I want you to recommend me to your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your mother, whoever it is. Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of business just through referral from past customers. Yeah. And a lot of our customers, well, not a lot, but we have a good number of customers that own multiple properties, and we end up coming back to do more of their properties. So we just are driven by value and satisfaction.
It's interesting, that word. Each year I try to set with the team a different intention, not in the kind of buzzword kind of way, but let's focus on these one or two things this year and all the subcategories that those two things lead to. And this year it was about value. That's why we brought the podcast. This is our first one in Canada, and we're doing York Region, Simcoe County. We want to provide more value with less friction points from businesses that are nominated or we're interested in to connect with us and give back to the community. So the easier, the more enticing we make it, the more chances of people getting on here and helping local businesses impact the local community. I think value is the name of the game. One of my mentors told me way back when is the business who provides the most value wins. Do whatever it takes to get to that point. And through that, customer satisfaction, like you guys saying that you won't leave until the customer's happy. That's a huge comfort for people to get work and feel that way, that these guys will take care of me no matter the case, and it'll look great. And there's that pre sale and post sale service. So you're taken care of. And I think people are willing to pay for that experience. So I love that you do that. And I hope everybody heard that. Pierre is going to take care of you. A question that I leave out, it's my favorite question. I leave it out on purpose. It's kind of my secret little question. So I often start this off by providing a little context. I think being an entrepreneur, being a son, being a father, being a partner, they're categories of life, all different hats, but categories of the one big game. And I think that game is the game of life. I think that's the arena we're all in. So I've been taught to think about, what have I done here? Kind of big picture. What have I done already? What am I doing now? What am I planning on doing? What impact will I have on the planet? Is it positive? Is it negative? Am I doing good? Am I not? So I like to ask people that same question. What kind of impact are you trying to leave? Maybe on your community, maybe on the world, maybe just on your family?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I'm necessarily trying to impact the world, but I think we try to impact our family more, like our children, and show them that hard work, dedication, bringing value to other people's lives can be very satisfying. Like I said, I don't think I'm changing the world with my flooring business or anything along those lines, at least not yet. Maybe we'll see what happens in the future. But, I think that's where we try to make the most impact is how do we create a life for our kids, for our partners that allows us to be comfortable, do some of the things we want, and just, sharing overall happiness at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it's great. And, I ask that question to pretty much everybody. And I usually put, how do you want to impact the world? And most people respond by, what I'm doing may not change the world, may not impact the world. But I've been very lucky to come across a few mentors, and they've stayed with me for a long time. And they're like, if you can just crack a smile on somebody, then that changes their energy. Then they may go do something to the next person, a little more positive. And we have no idea how far that ripple effect spreads. I mean, who knows? Some people believe we're all connected. I think there's a good argument there. And I love that you guys are out there trying to make people happy, provide a space for your community, provide a space for your family, all based on value and quality service. I think that's great. Pierre, how can people find out about you guys if they want to reach out? How do they connect?
You can find us online, www.plflooringcompany.com. We got 2 phone numbers you can reach out to us on. You can email us there. We've also got our Facebook and Instagrams. So, just search up the PL Flooring Company and you'll find us there. So yeah, that's about right now. It's the only way to get a hold of us, unless you run into us down the street, or you see our trailer parked outside of somebody's house and you want to come knock on the door and say hi. We're happy to come out and have a chat with you too.
Beautiful. So start with www.plflooring. Is it company in there?
Yeah, plflooringcompany.com.
Beautiful. Start there, get the numbers, see them online, and check these guys out. Pierre, it was great having you on the show. I appreciate you letting us go a little deep there and sharing that great information with us. One of my main takeaways is try to get better a little bit every day. It's a great book, Atomic Habits, and he talks about 1% a day, just little small wins. I think that's huge. And then your focus on providing value and customer satisfaction in your local community. That's what we're trying to do here. It was really great having you on the show, man.
No, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.